I, 28 male, dated my wife, 26, for 3 years before we got married a year and a half ago. I'm a white guy, and she's an Indian who moved to the States for college and settled with a job here. She made it clear to me sometime into our relationship that her family would not approve of her marrying outside of her religion and caste. But we both decided to go for it regardless. We didn't have much money at the time either, so we eloped and had a sweet ceremony with only our closest friends in attendance. Her parents didn't even know she was dating me at the time. Throughout our relationship, she's gotten to know my family and friends incredibly well. My sisters treat her like a sister, and my parents love her. Plus, she's basically as close to my friends as I am. However, even though I know she has very close ties to family and friends back in India, I've never met them, and I truly don't think I come close to understanding her culture or experiencing her traditions, which I think is important because we've decided to try for kids this year and want to raise them to be proud of both identities. 6 months ago, she finally told her parents about me, not about us being married, but about her dating a white guy. Recently, they finally started to come around a bit, and I decided it was probably high time I visit her family, her home, and her country. I brought this up with her, and she was initially quite hesitant about the idea. However, last night she sat me down and told me she was willing to take this trip, but it would require two things from me. For us to act as if we're not currently married, and to be willing to have a big wedding celebration, likely back in India fairly soon. She said things would move fast once I met her parents. To clarify, she said we would not bear the financial burden even though we're both quite well off now. I told her I didn't want to lie to them about our lives, and that it's probably better to simply tell them the truth and come clean. I also don't want to have another wedding ceremony when we already had one over a year ago that to me was absolutely perfect. I'd be very uncomfortable with having another one. She broke down at this and told me she couldn't keep this secret from her parents any longer, and that I was being unreasonable for not understanding that she didn't have a choice in this, and it was the only way for our relationship to work. I don't think I was unfair in not wanting to deceive my in-laws, but maybe I misunderstood something. So am I the one in the wrong here? Yeah, she's the idiot for hiding the relationship and marriage, but I can understand it. How exactly do you want to raise kids with the knowledge of both identities when you're refusing everything wholeheartedly? You want her to cave and make herself and her family uncomfortable, but you say another wedding ceremony celebrating the two of you would make you uncomfortable. Where's the compassion for your wife in all of this? Right? I'm amazed that he isn't interested in the fact that a second wedding in India is normal when the couple is mixed and the first wedding was in the States. And when they tell her parents they eloped, all bets are off. I dislike that he wants to learn about her culture and has ignored one of the things that most Americans know to be important to Indian culture. Marriage is about compromise. Pick your battles. This is not a hill I would die on. I disagree. You're not the idiot. She broke down and said she couldn't keep this secret from her parents any longer. And yet, she wants to keep it a secret. That you two are already married. That you've been married for a year and a half already. You should be very reluctant to present yourselves to her parents as an unmarried couple wanting to get married there. I don't see how anything good can come of that. Relationships with family members that start with a lie are doomed. As a Hindu Indian woman who is married to a white Christian man, get a divorce. How are you okay with all of this? Yes, there is a negative stigma, but it's called putting on your big boy pants and having conversations. I told my parents 2 months into becoming official, my husband was not going to be my dirty little secret. He deserves more respect. She isn't ready to be married or have children if she can't put her big girl pants on and act like an adult. My girlfriend, 28, was traveling and asked me, 30 male, to stay at her place and look after her dogs. She told me I could use her car for anything I needed during my stay. She has 2 cars but didn't specify which, a Porsche 911 GT3 and a Toyota Camry. I used the Camry most of the time, but took the Porsche out for a short road trip to a hiking trail with my friend, and I hired a dog sitter that day. We had fun with it in an empty field, but nothing too extreme or over what the car is rated for. When she got back, she noticed the Porsche was dirtier. I didn't leave it extremely dirty or anything, just a normal amount of dirt, and asked me if I had used that car. I said I did, but only once. She got upset and said that I should have known when I said the car. She meant only the Toyota, as she always refers to the Porsche as the Porsche or the GT3. She herself only uses that car for special occasions and sometimes takes it to a track, and our trip counted as a special occasion. She got the car checked as she claimed it felt different, and she came back with a costly maintenance quote and told me I should pay for the suspension and undercarriage damage. Parts of the bill. I feel like she's being an idiot. I only used it for one day, and I said I didn't know maintenance was part of the deal and that I felt tricked. I offered to pay for the whole service of the Camry the next time it needs it. She got the other car knowing that the maintenance is high for her hobbies and is trying to shift the maintenance cost to me. Am I the idiot? We did have fun with it in an empty field, but nothing too extreme or going over what the car is rated for. Yes, you are the idiot. Seriously? A field and a track are pretty different. And then you're surprised there might be a suspension and undercarriage problem? OP thought driving with his buddy to a field to burn out his girlfriend's Porsche while she was out of town was a special occasion. What the heck is OP thinking? This guy's 30. It's unfortunate that the girlfriend has excellent taste in cars, but crappy taste in men. The fact that you took the Camry every time except once is a indicator that you knew she meant the Camry when she said you could use her car. You also knew that even she only uses it for special occasions. She also said you could use her car for things you needed, not for fun, which you admit to using the Porsche for. I don't know whether you damaged her car or not. It wouldn't surprise me if you did. But at the end of the day, if you hadn't taken her car out to have fun in an empty field, there would be no question. No one tricked you. You screwed up. Update. I didn't know you couldn't use the car in fields. And my friend really wanted to try the car, and pressured me to let him try it in the field even though I was reluctant, but he assured me that it wouldn't cause any damage. I will pay the bill in that case, maybe even the whole bill. I could afford it, and I doubt my friend would pay for it. My husband's mother passed away late last year. It was very hard on him and his father. The holidays were rough. My husband is still struggling, and I've been doing my best to be kind, supportive, and understanding, but he's been less attentive with our 3 kids, a teenage daughter and 2 preteen sons. I'm pretty sure he's struggling at work too, but he won't admit it. He started therapy about a month ago and goes once a week. A couple of weeks ago, he told me he wanted to move his dad, who is 75, into our house. He said that his dad is struggling too, and that being in the house he shared with his wife for the past 50 years isn't doing him any good. He had an entire plan laid out, so it was obvious that he's been planning this for a while without talking to me about it. He wants to move his dad into the room we had just moved our middle child into last summer. Before that, our 2 youngest were sharing a room. So we did some random renovations to make an extra bedroom so all our kids could have their own space. He wants to force our youngest 2 to share a room again so his dad can move in. He also wants to talk to his dad about putting their house on the market or possibly renting it out, which means father-in-law would be here long-term. After we laid out his plan, he asked me what I thought, and I told him my immediate reaction was no. I told him that barely any time had passed since his mom's death, and it was too soon to make such drastic changes in everyone's lives. I told him his dad would get better with time, and we all needed to step back and not rush into any decisions. He was not happy with my response and kept asking for specific reasons other than not enough time has passed. I suggested that we look into different housing options for his dad if he's uncomfortable with his home, which I understand. His dad has enough money saved to afford a good retirement home or a smaller condo, which would allow everyone to have their own space still. He didn't like that idea either because it would mean his dad still lived alone. I'll admit, there are reasons I didn't tell him. Seeing my husband deal with his grief has been hard, especially since it's affecting his ability to be present with the kids and me. I really don't want a second grieving man in our house. I also really don't want to kick our middle child out of the room that we just made specifically for them. That isn't fair to them. But I know if I tell my husband this, he's going to think I'm being selfish. And maybe I am. Father-in-law currently lives about 3 hours away, so visiting him is difficult. We also live in a pretty rural area, and the nearest town with respectable retirement homes is over an hour away. So even if that option isn't ideal, it's still closer. I know it sounds selfish, but I just don't think I could handle 2 grieving men in my home. I can barely handle one right now. My husband has been throwing it in my face that he stepped up and did pretty much everything when I struggled with my mental health. I suffered from PPD after our first and second children were born, and I lost both of my parents within a year after our oldest was born. I was in a dark place for a long time, and my husband stepped up and did a lot for our kids and me while I was returning to a good place. But those situations are different. So am I the idiot? You are the idiot. His father is alone and grieving, and he wants to help him. It's great that your husband is willing to take in his elderly grieving father. Their being together might help your husband in his grieving process as well. So this is important for both of them. The grieving process is hard and long, and it hasn't been very long at all for either of them. Also, it sounds like your husband stood by you completely when you had PPD and lost your parents, and you don't want to do the same for him. So really, he's the only one married. It's all one-sided with you. Father-in-law is 75 years old. If he moves in now and sells his place, the husband is signing up his wife to become a full-time caretaker and a full-time nurse. She'll have to buy him groceries, cook his meals, do his laundry, be his maid, drive him to his appointments, be his minder, etc. And keep in mind, she's already taken care of 5 people, herself included, her grieving husband who isn't doing much himself right now, and 3 children. It's a huge ask for someone who was never raised by that man and never planned to become a caretaker, orderly, or nurse. Hard not the idiot. I think you all discussing him selling and buying a smaller place nearby is a better option. My problem is that we don't know what the father-in-law wants. Does he want to move, sell the house, or look for a roommate? All I hear is what the husband wants for his father. Please ask father-in-law. Father-in-law shouldn't be deciding on the house yet in his intense grief. Not his son. To sell that house this soon is nuts to me. He might get to a better place mentally and realize he shouldn't have done that. My roommate Tammy and I are both on fairly limited budgets. I get a little help from my parents, so I have a little bit of a buffer in my income. I make meals for myself, where I'll have leftovers so I can skip making myself one lunch or one dinner later in the week. On the other hand, Tammy makes each meal as precise as possible so she doesn't waste money. Just 2 different ways of looking at meals, I guess. Just after Christmas last year, Tammy was very low on money and asked if she could please have some of my leftovers. I agreed. Instead of serving herself a small portion to see if she would like my food, she just took a full portion. She ate about a quarter of what she took, and threw the rest in the trash. I didn't say anything. Almost the exact same thing happened 2 weeks ago. This time I asked her to try a little before she took a full portion. She said she was really hungry. Almost an entire meal in the trash. 2 nights ago, she asked for my spaghetti. I said no. It really isn't going to affect me for her to throw away a meal. But it means she's wasting the money I spent on the food. And the time I spent getting the ingredients and preparing the food. She isn't talking to me, but she's complaining to other people about me being cheap and letting her starve. I'm not. I gave her a box of generic mac and cheese for her to eat. I'm just not gonna watch my hard work literally go into the garbage. She thinks I'm being an idiot because I won't share my food. I would share if she wasn't wasting it. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You tried to be kind and help her out when she was in need. Then she threw your help in the trash. She's the idiot. Plus, holy crap, you even gave her food she could make for herself. Don't take what you won't eat. It's an easy rule most kids learn. So, she's complaining to other people about me being cheap and letting her starve. Lol. She's wasting food and you're not her mother. You checked all the boxes of being a decent human being. You didn't complain the first time she threw away the food. You asked her nicely to try a little first the second time, and the third time you gave her a box of mac and cheese. You were definitely more understanding and empathetic and patient than the average person would have been in this situation. Why is she entitled to your food in the first place? What a choosing beggar situation. Tell Tammy to take herself to Costco and get a box of ramen noodles. Unfortunately, you might have to start cooking single portions if she's being an idiot about it. I had a roommate who had tons of canned food. The dude ate my food anyway. It got to the point where I had a deadbolt on my door and I microwaved my meals in my room. Pathetic. My husband and I have a young grammar school-aged daughter together, Layla. A few months ago, Layla got a boyfriend, Lucas. They're the same age, so it's obviously not a real relationship. They just held hands sometimes, and they drew each other hearts for Valentine's Day. This week, Layla was apparently holding hands with another boy who also sent Layla a Valentine's Day love letter, and Lucas took offense to it. We found out because Lucas's parents called to tell us Lucas won't be coming over this Saturday, as originally planned, because he's mad at Layla. My husband wants us to punish Layla and wants me to talk to her about faithfulness. At first I thought he was joking, but no, he was serious. He says that Layla cheated on Lucas and that I, as her mother, should do something about it. I told my husband that Layla is a little girl, not a cheater, and I won't treat her as such. He then accused me of raising a cheater and encouraging bad behavior. Am I the idiot for not wanting to punish Layla? I guess according to your husband, I'm technically a bigamist, since I married a boyfriend in the 3rd grade during recess, and then married someone else 12 years later without properly divorcing my first husband. This also means that every other relationship I had after that first wedding meant I was cheating. What a monster I am. Although you should talk to your daughter about hurting Lucas's feelings. LOL, I was going to say the same thing. I was 6 when my bestie and I would swap husbands every few days. So I'm in real trouble now, since I've been married 3 times. Hello, Mayo? I guess I should notify my other 2 husbands that I'm married with kids to now, in this guy's mind. Kids have their rules. We have ours. My first thought was that he was projecting that kind of behavior onto his young daughter due to unchecked misogyny. It was wise to talk to the child, because she had hurt another child's feelings. Despite their friendship, she had made him feel left out. However, to label it as a faithfulness issue is genuinely concerning. I am concerned about OP's husband. Is he cheating? I believe he may suspect his wife of cheating and was accusing her in a strange roundabout way by involving their child. Lucas probably doesn't even see this as cheating. He's just upset that his friend is playing with someone else and is jealous, something that all children of both genders experience. Lucas needs to learn that he doesn't own his friends, and they have the right to have as many friends as they want. But that is something for his parents to handle, not you. Let's stop raising fragile boys who can't handle any disappointment, especially from a girlfriend.